Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the evening session of the City Council meeting. The meeting is now called to order. I'd like to ask the City Clerk to call the roll.
All council members are present.
Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a brief moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, staff, do you have any agenda changes?
Mr. Mayor, we have no changes to the agenda.
Council, any changes to the agenda? At this time, we're at public comment. At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council, Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments relating to items on today's agenda are to be taken at the time the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on items not on the agenda. However, council, authority, and agency members may briefly respond to the statements or questions, and an item may be placed on a future agenda. Angela, do we have any cards in the public comment?
Yes, sir. We have two speakers. The first one is George Glover.
Hey, George.
Hello, council, staff. How y'all doing? It's been a while since I stood up here in front of you. I hope everyone had a happy 4th, and we're into our new fiscal year. So I'm going to throw a few numbers at you just to get this rolling. 25,000, 655,000, 116,500, 405,400, 36,500, 58,000, 5,500 for a grand total of 1,354,664. And I'll come back to this and tell you what this is in a little while, but just gnaw on those numbers. El Cajon has a long connection to the military, going back to mid-World War II, when Gillespie Field was put into place. It was a Marine Corps jump school, is how it started, and they actually used to land where the El Cajon Speedway was. That was the landing zone, and because of that, we have a deep connection, and we have an airport. We have a deep connection with the military. We have an airport. Also, there's probably a lot of us in this room that have connections to the military that can tell a story or two. I've heard some of the folks in this room tell stories about the military. They either are a veteran, they know somebody who's a veteran, they have a veteran and their family, and I think we need to really, really think about that connection that we have, that El Cajon has. We're a city of 7,000 vets, roughly 7% of our population. That's enough votes to win an election. That's enough votes to win the mayoral election, 7,000 votes. So we need to think about our veteran population, because if no one else will go out and vote, veterans are out there every time, every election. Veterans out there, and they vote. Back in 2016, when I was on the Veterans Commission, Tony Ambrose, the former council member, he approached us. He approached the commission to look into the idea of putting together a veterans memorial at Prescott Plaza. Tony's plan was fairly ambitious, with roughly a budget of $750,000, which was quite huge. But it sort of fell by the wayside, and it fell off. So what I'm wanting you to think about is, with ECPAC coming online now, and the current Veterans Memorial is going to end up being a focal point. People are going to be milling around that Veterans Memorial before they go in to see a show. Well, shouldn't we consider enhancing that? We can do something along the lines of what Julian's done, Alpine, other communities have done, where they've been able to add bricks around their memorials. I think something like that might be feasible, and I'd like you to consider it. And I'm out of time. Can I keep going?
Sure, you can take a few more.
Okay, thanks. The total ECPAC budget is and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mitchell. I've got rough guesstimates here. We're talking somewhere around 8.2 million with the recent bump at the end of last year. So it's time to properly recognize our vets. Our Constitution guarantees us rights, liberties, and freedoms, but it's the veteran that sees to it that those rights and those liberties stay in place. Over the course of our history, we've had only 0.4%, not 4%, 0.4% of the entire U.S. history has served. Entire U.S. population. Today, the U.S. population is 330 million. 2.142 million of them are service members. That accounts for 0.64%. 0.64% of the population is who is guaranteeing and protecting our rights. As I came up today, I saw a group outside talking about green energy. In another country, that group might not have been able to do that. Here they can. Why? Because of the veteran. So I want to leave you with this. John Kennedy said, "A nation reveals itself not only by the men it produces, but also by the men it honors and the men it remembers." And by the way, those numbers, that is the total dead from all of the great wars, the most major wars in our history. 1,354,664. So I'll leave it with that. All I wanted you to do is please consider possibly bringing this project back to life, and see where you can take it. I think there's something that we can do with the current configuration and not have to do a huge budget, but I think it's something that El Cajon should do. And I'll answer any questions if anyone has any.
Questions, anybody? Bob?
Are you talking kind of like what they did at Mount Soledad? They put plaques up there, but we could put bricks around this memorial with people could buy a brick and for in the name of one of their relatives that's a service member. Or
yes, sir. Something similar to that. As I said, Alpine in the front of their community center has a very small veterans memorial, but it's very, very nicely done, and it has walls that go around in a semicircle, and a person can add the name of a veteran to that. The veteran doesn't have to be deceased. He
Right.
can be she can be living, but they do allow that. And every year on Memorial Day is when they add the names.
I think that's a good idea.
Sir.
Just want to thank you for bringing this up. I understand you're a veteran, so
Yes,
I
sir.
want to thank you for your service to our
Thank you.
country. I come from a long line of military family members. My father, my grandfather, who fought in World War II, prisoner of war, and we actually named my son back there after him. He's the only person carrying on our name right now. So being in the military is a sacred thing, and I appreciate that. I actually just had a meeting with our city manager this week regarding this Veterans Memorial that you brought to my attention. So I'd like to see that be revived as well. Just want to voice my support, and I appreciate you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you doing that.
Thanks, George. Appreciate
You're welcome, sir.
William Walker.
Yeah, so I was here this afternoon, so I wanted to address that first. I heard the news, because I know the area fairly well. I've been walking the El Cajon all the way to the borders, Lakeside, Santee, Mount Helix, Crest, all that area. So in the valley here, it's a nice valley, but there's a lot of, wait a second. Oh, because they have 17 parks and one pool. I've seen about 3 parks. So maybe somehow we could get some information about where this is, because if those parks are around, I'd be using them.
Can I help you there?
So, okay, another thing, well, I got a couple issues, but they haven't been addressed here. I was wondering if I could just throw them out there real quick.
It's your time. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So, okay, so there's a lot of weeds and trash and stuff and it just lays there, especially if there's a wall there, and they just leave it there. Or between the side, right along the sidewalk, they grow out on the side there, trash laying everywhere, dead roadkill, all that kind of stuff. It's a real blight to the community, and I think somehow we could get someone to, or a group to, address that. Let's see here. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, I'll just go with that.
I appreciate it. Thanks for coming and tell us about those.
No more cards, sir.
Okay, thanks very much. Brings us to public hearings. Item 100 is for the Granite Hills Drive Zone reclassification number 2330. Staff, would you tell us about this, please? Welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. I'm Alfonso Camacho, Assistant Planner. The item before you is the Granite Hills Drive rezoning. The proposed rezone includes the properties at 1377 and 1389 Granite Hills Drive. The request is to rezone the properties from residential single-family 9,000 square feet minimum lot size to residential single-family 6,000 square feet minimum lot size. Also to keep the zoning consistent with the nearby properties on Granite Hills Drive while addressing an ongoing code enforcement violation. The existing and proposed zone are consistent with the low-density residential general plan designation. For the property at 1377 Granite Hills Drive, a hold harmless and settlement agreement was recorded in 1988 requiring the property owner to remove an unpermitted bedroom addition prior to the change in ownership of the property. The property was later foreclosed and the requirement was not met. The property at 1389 Granite Hills Drive is included in this request for the purpose of zone consistency only, as no violations or construction is proposed. 1377 Granite Hills Drive is located on the corner of Terrace Crest and Granite Hills Drive, while 1389 Granite Hills Drive is located adjacent to the east. Exhibit A shows the nearby properties and their zone designations. Properties to the west and the south are zoned RS9, while properties to the north and east are zoned RS6. The proposed exhibit provides a revised representation of the properties displaying consistent RS6 zoning with the adjacent properties to the east, thereby providing consistency along Granite Hills Drive. Currently, 1377 Granite Hills Drive includes one single-family dwelling on a 9,000 square foot lot. The unpermitted 283 square foot bedroom addition does not meet development standards of the current RS9 zone due to the encroachment into the 25-foot rear yard setback. 1389 Granite Hills Drive also includes a single-family dwelling on a 9,000 square foot lot and meets development standards. The site plan shows the unpermitted bedroom addition located 15 feet from the rear property line. Since the current zone's setback is 25 feet, the bedroom is encroaching by 10 feet. The proposed RS6 zone has a rear yard setback of 15 feet, providing an opportunity for the property owner to submit for a building permit to keep the addition, making it legal and thereby addressing the requirement created by the hold harmless and settlement agreement. The proposed rezone ensures consistency with the general plan and adjacent properties, does not allow an increase in density of the single-family properties and provides the owner the opportunity to keep the bedroom addition while addressing the existing code case violation and hold harmless agreement. Thereby, staff and the Planning Commission recommend approval of zone reclassification number ZR2330 to City Council. Thank you.
Thanks. Nice presentation. Council, do you have any questions?
So I understand the property owner at 1389 was contacted and had an opportunity to weigh in, correct?
They were, yes.
And what did he say, or she?
English was a second language to the property owner, so I was actually reached out and spoke with the property owner's relatives and informed them of the reasoning and how it affects their property. And they said they would relay the message, and they seemed to be okay with it.
And I think even the rezone that we're proposing on 1377 would go for 1389, which result in a benefit to the next door neighbor of having a lesser setback in case he wanted to add something to his property someday.
That's correct.
So he wins also.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Was there any opposition during the Planning Commission for this matter?
Initially, we did get some phone calls, spoke to members of the public, but it was basically because they weren't really aware of what the proposal was. They were in opposition of an increase in density. They had the impression that the property is being rezoned for multifamily development. But after I kind of explained the process and kind of what the reasoning for it, they had no opposition.
Great. Any more questions? Thanks. Good presentation. All right. The public hearing is now open. Angela, do we have any speaker cards?
We have no cards, sir.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? It seems like a housekeeping item.
Slam dunk.
Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move to introduce the next ordinance in order approving zone reclassification number 2330.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote, and I will recite the title to the ordinance. An ordinance rezoning properties located on the south side of Granite Hills Drive between Hamasha Road and Terrace Crest from RS9 residential single family 9,000 square feet to RS6 residential single family 6,000 square feet. Zone APNs 514-01314 and 15. General plan designation low density residential LR.
Thank you. The next public hearing is item 101. It is for a monument wireless facility. And staff, I'll ask you to tell us about this.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm Spencer Hayes. I'm also an assistant planner with the city. The next item for your consideration is the Monument Wireless Facility submitted by Verizon. And so the purpose of this agenda item is to consider the wireless communication facility. The process would include opening the public hearing, closing the public hearing, and then adopting two resolutions, one for the CEQA exemption and another for the specific plan number 534. The project is located at the terminus of East Renette Avenue at South Lincoln Avenue, addressed 867 South Lincoln Avenue. There is a religious facility at that location, which is the First Lutheran Church. And essentially this project proposes a freestanding wireless facility to replace that existing religious monument structure at the site. And the design would mimic what's existing there currently. The site is in the residential single-family 6,000 square foot zone, the RS6 zone, and has a consistent general plan designation of low to moderate density residential. The last revision of the zoning code required a specific plan for a wireless communication facility that exceeded the height limit of the underlying zone, which in this case is 35 feet. The site is 2.86 acres and surrounded by single-family and multifamily uses. The religious facility includes the main sanctuary structure along with classroom structures and other accessory buildings. The existing monument consists of 3 steel legs arranged in a triangle with wood slats in a vertical orientation. And again, the proposed design, which replaces that structure, is nearly identical. And so that nearly identical design has 3 steel legs of varying heights, RFP panels which mimic the existing wood. The tower height is approximately 55 feet to the bulk of the height, and then it also has a 14-foot cross atop of that, so a total of 69 feet approximately in height. There's also an equipment enclosure proposed, which would include the supporting equipment for the wireless antenna, and it also includes a generator. And so a noise analysis was conducted, which shows that the noise generated by that generator would not impact surrounding residential uses. The report shows that decibels generated would drop off to less than 50 at the property line, which is our nighttime limit in the zoning code and ordinance. And so, as you can see in the photo simulations here, the footprint of the proposed design is slightly larger. It's 30 square feet, but it mimics what is existing there. And then you can also see in the second rendering what the CMU enclosure, the cement block wall enclosure would look like next to the sanctuary structure. And so Planning Commission at the meeting held on June 4th, 2019, recommended City Council approval for the following reasons, which were that wireless is an important primary and secondary means of communication. Expanded wireless coverage is a community benefit for the community and emergency services. And the proposed design is minimal in visual impact while also providing this increased service. And so the recommendation is to move to adopt the resolution approving the CEQA exemption and then move to adopt the resolution approving specific plan number 534. Available for any questions.
Let me see if there's some questions. Council? No? Good job. You answered all their questions. And so you can sit down. Thank you very much. Nice presentation. Okay, then. I'm going to open up the public hearing. Angela, do we have any speaker cards?
We do, sir. We have 3 speakers. The first one is Shelley Kilborn.
Ms. Kilborn, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Shelley Kilborn. I'm here tonight representing Verizon Wireless on the project in front of you. This project, the intention is for it to improve coverage and capacity to the surrounding area, primarily the surrounding or residential area around the site. Those are our areas that are always the hardest to cover. We think this is a good site from a design standpoint. We are mimicking the existing tower. It's going to be a little bit wider, but it's going to almost match it exactly. And I think that's something we always want to be able to do and not add something new that creates a visual impact to the neighborhood. So we look at this site as a positive impact. We determined this area needed improved coverage and capacity from both customer feedback as well as some modeling that Verizon does. And so this site was chosen because it was within that area needing improved coverage and capacity as well as having this existing vertical element on which to locate a cell site. So we believe that this will provide that improved coverage and in the least intrusive means. So we hope that you can support it, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Thanks. Any questions? Thanks. We'll
you.
call you back if we need you.
Okay, thanks.
David Shores.
Hello, sir. Welcome.
Good evening. Look, I live in South Lincoln, right across from the church. For the city zoning, the height is going to be over like 70. Radiation, from wave radiation, I contacted more than 16 messages and never returned any calls. It's going to have 2 generators running in diesel and attended. The church has also daycare and kindergarten. I don't think it's going to be safe around kids and housing close by with the noise from the generator for the housing. And for the image, I don't know, didn't put the image in the picture for the tower, what it's going to be look like, and that's just Verizon for now. Later, it's going to be AT&T and T-Mobile added to it. And I don't think for the safety of the public that should be installed in that area.
Just a quick question. When you said you were worried about the children being harmed, is that from the
From the wave, the radiation.
the radiation? Okay.
It's like about 32 foot from the monument inside the church.
All right. Let me see if there's any more questions for you. Steve?
Do you have any information you could present to us that backs the claim of radiation?
It's online. Everything is online.
I understand it might be on-
I can give you copies of what I have.
That would be great.
Studies done for the G4. This is going to be a G5. So it's
me
higher radiation.
Steve, I may be able to answer your question by talking to Morgan. It seems to me that when we've done this before, we were prohibited by federal law that we could not take the radiation arguments into concern. Is that still the law?
Still the law. This gentleman may make his statements about it, but I would tell the city council, as long as the FCC has approved this wireless facility and found that its levels are within acceptable limits, you cannot deny the application.
Well, they only approved so far the 4. They did a study for the G4. This is going to be a G5.
We'll bring the attorney back up to answer those questions. But and did you think that the height limit was going to be, or the height of the tower was going to change?
Yes.
So you think it's going to go?
From the image, from the look for the.
You think it will go higher?
It's already at 55. It's going to hit 70. And with the 3 bar that they have right now, they're like over 50 years old, rusted, earthquake, might fall in one of the houses. The nearest house from the right side, it's about 42 foot. There's 3 more houses in the side at 55 to 65. From the left, there's 4 duplex within 65 foot. And then there's the office and those 4 classes for the school within less than 65 foot.
All right. I appreciate that. All right. Council, any more questions with this? Thank you, sir. Thanks for bringing these up to us so we can talk about it. Thank you.
The last speaker is Mark Honeck.
Hello, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, staff, my name is Mark Honeck. I'm not representing, but I'm from First Lutheran Church. Just to address a couple of things the previous gentleman said, the generator is an emergency generator. It's not a 24/7 generator. So the only time it would be running is if there was a loss of power.
That's good to know.
The other thing is the current tower is 70 feet. The new tower is going to be 69 feet, 55 for the base, 14 for the cross at the top. The issue on the safety, he quoted that he got his information off the internet, and there's all kinds of information on the internet. The American Cancer Society has come out and said that they don't see any issues between cancer and cell towers. That's on their internet, their website. I can go find just as many internet sites that say it's not an issue as there are that say it is an issue. The tower is a 4G tower, not a 5G, and I think if it goes to 5G, I don't think it can go on that tower. I think it has to go on a separate tower. And that's pretty much what I had to say.
What about the AT&T and T-Mobile being added?
I think you'd have to ask the Verizon rep.
We could do that, but you don't know anything about that?
I have no idea. We're only dealing with the Verizon people.
Okay. All right, thanks for, let me see if there's any questions for you.
Thank you.
All right. No, thanks, sir. I'd like to ask our the representative to come back from the phone company. So I got a couple questions for you.
Okay.
AT&T and T-Mobile being added later.
Yeah, they can't be added on that tower. There's no room for anyone else to be added, and this is Verizon's tower, so they don't have any intention of bringing other carriers on. I mean, I guess the other carriers could come forward to the church, but it's not a proposal as part of this.
Right. Diesel engines only going to run in emergencies?
Right. It's just for emergency backup power, and it'll run for about 15 minutes once a week, and that's just to keep it maintained. But those hours are during, regular daytime business hours. And again, it's not to power the site. It's for emergency purposes.
All right. And then we've heard two different things about the height. Is the height going to stay the same or go down by 1 foot?
The height's going to go down by 1 foot.
Yeah, okay. Questions? Thanks. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion then to close public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Okay, thank you very much. So, gentlemen, any discussions? So I'd like to make a motion.
I'll move to adopt the next resolution order approving the CEQA exemption.
Second.
Moved and seconded, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
And I will move to adopt the next resolution order approving the specific plan number 534.
Second.
Moved and seconded, please vote.
With your permission, sir, I will have to reset the vote.
Yeah, let's do it again. Tell me when you're ready. Okay, vote, please.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Thank you. Okay, item 102 is for the El Cajon Climate Action Plan. Staff, will you tell us about this, please?
Honorable Mayor and City Council, this climate action plan that is about to be presented to you serves to outline strategies, goals, and actions for reducing municipal and community-wide greenhouse gas emissions. It has been carefully structured to make sense for El Cajon so that the city, as well as developers, property owners, and residents, are able to participate reasonably. You can think of it as something that can be lifted while meeting California mandates directing cities to do what they can to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Benefits of having such a plan include an advantage for development projects by streamlining the environmental review process and providing regulatory certainty. It could also lead to improved air quality, reduction in heat islands, and boost property values, not to mention economic savings to the city and to the community from implementing energy efficient programs. Melissa Devine and Lorena Cordova have done a fantastic job managing the development of this item in concert with climate action plan experts, professionals in the field from University of San Diego's Energy Policy Initiative Center, Ascent Environmental, and staff at Sandag. So with that, Melissa and Lorena, would you please present the climate action plan?
Hello, welcome.
The project consists of the Climate Action Plan, also referred to as the CAP.
Could you pull the
which
microphone down?
Oh. Thank you. The project consists of the Climate Action Plan, also referred to as the CAP, which outlines 8 strategies included and intended to reduce pollution, improve community resiliency, manage natural resources, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions, also referred to as GHG emissions. Additionally, there's a program environmental impact report that analyzed any significant potential impacts from the adoption of the Climate Action Plan. A climate action plan is a comprehensive plan for a city to identify how to reduce GHG emissions. The plan contains an inventory of the emissions that the city produces, as well as a projection of what future emissions will be, and then includes tailored strategies of how to reduce those emissions. Of the 18 cities in San Diego County, all but one have adopted or are in the process of adopting a climate action plan. The city received funding through the Energy Roadmap program and grant from SANDAG to prepare the climate action plan as well as the environmental impact report. This plan will manage city resources more effectively by planning for the future for items like vehicle replacements with clean fuel vehicles or the installation of electric vehicle charging stations. This plan also has a component of streamlining CEQA analysis for all development projects. As you know, it is becoming more difficult to meet state targets and avoid cumulative GHG emissions impacts under CEQA. Increasingly, smaller development projects such as commercial drive-throughs of 1,500 square feet or 30-unit subdivisions would be required to analyze GHG emissions and mitigate those emissions to essentially net zero. This could have the impact of stifling development. There is also a component of eligibility for grant funding. SANDAG has made having a cap a prerequisite for competitive grant funding programs, such as the Active Transportation Grant and Smart Growth Incentive Program. The city was provisionally awarded $5 million in grants pending approval of a climate action plan. In addition, there are co-benefits from improved air quality, from a reduction in tailpipe emissions that translate into improved health outcomes for childhood asthma. In addition, these actions support jobs in clean technology as well as community resilience. California has also adopted ambitious state targets for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The state has a target of a reduction to 1990 levels by 2020 and 40% 1990 levels by 2030. These are the reasons that the city is bringing forward a cap. However, it should be noted that the city is not required to have a climate action plan, but we think it makes good sense as responsible stewards of resources. A city embarked on the development of a climate action plan. A comprehensive outreach strategy was developed to ensure that we reached out to El Cajon property owners, business owners, and residents. Staff developed a project webpage that provided an overview of the project, and which we kept up to date with a news section identifying upcoming events, hearings, as well as sharing of documents. Staff put together press releases to recognize those who already have sustainable strategies in place as part of our Sustainable Strategies series. So we featured businesses as well as nonprofit organizations and continue to do so. Staff had a booth at citywide events such as Hot Fest and the Fire Open House to share information about the development of the Climate Action Plan. We also hosted a public workshop at the El Cajon Central Library focused on obtaining feedback on the 8 strategies that were developed. We also collaborated with community partners such as the International Rescue Committee that led the Be Healthy El Cajon campaign, and the Newcomers in Action, led by Mohamed Touama, and they led the El Cajon Resident Leadership Academies with El Cajon residents. Staff made presentations to the various stakeholder groups, such as the El Cajon Collaborative, the Downtown El Cajon Business Partners, the Lions Club, the Rotaries Club, the Kiwanis, just to mention a few. And we also administered a survey with over 100 responses to understand preferences from the community in terms of programs and strategies. The first component of the plan is the GHG inventory. The city has a baseline year of 2012, which is the most recent year for which all of the data needed to prepare the inventory was available. This inventory based on actual data such as energy usage from SDG&E and model data such as vehicle trips from the San Diego Regional Transportation Model. For the baseline year, El Cajon had 685,000 metric tons of greenhouse gas emissions, which equates to about 1.7 billion miles driven by a car or 77 million gallons of gas. This inventory is further broken down into sections. On-road transportation, which is trips and cars, make up the largest emissions sector, followed by natural gas and electricity. The inventory is a snapshot in time and helps us to understand where the greatest reductions are needed. The city does not have much influence over transportation sector, and thus more of the strategies in the plan focus on energy, water, and waste reductions. The next part of the plan projects emissions into the future, assuming population and job growth consistent with the regional models, and it is projected that the city will easily meet the state's target for 2020 without taking any action. However, the city will not meet the 2030 target without further action. After taking into account all federal and state actions reducing GHG emissions, there's a gap of approximately 33,000 metric tons that need to be reduced in order for the city to meet the 2030 target. In order to address the 2030 gap, 8 strategies have been developed in and around the following topic areas. These 8 strategies have specific actions and objectives within each strategy that are concrete and measurable, as well as supporting actions such as education or outreach. Some of these actions are already underway, and the CAP will work to expand or continue these efforts and supplement where appropriate. Now, Melissa will share more about this.
Thank you, Lorena. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the strategies and the various actions within those. The first strategy under the Climate Action Plan is to increase the use of zero-emission or alternative fuel vehicles. We know these vehicles are growing in popularity. We know there's a need for infrastructure to support the continued use of electric vehicles as an option for consumers. There's also an opportunity within our fleet program to manage that more effectively and replace our fleet vehicles with alternative fuel or clean air vehicles as they come to the end of their useful life. Other actions within this strategy include supporting the school district's efforts to electrify their school bus fleet, as well as increasing clean air preferential parking spaces. Strategy number 2 is about reducing fuel use. One of the primary strategies here involves continuing city efforts to synchronize traffic lights. We've already been successful in those efforts and will continue to do so, reduces fuel use, and as well as install planned roundabouts within the transit district specific plan area. And there is a new measure to increase the use of renewable or alternative fuel vehicles in construction. Currently, that makes up a fair amount of our off-road transportation, so just decreasing that amount by 10% will reduce emissions quite a bit in the construction sector. The next strategy focuses on reducing vehicle miles traveled in El Cajon. And how we can do that is providing better alternatives. And the ways that we're proposing to do that would be through incorporating alternative modes of travel planned into transportation demand management plans for employers, supporting those efforts, completing an already planned active transportation plan, and then encouraging smart growth development within those areas already planned for it, such as in our mixed-use overlay in our transit district-specific plan area. Strategy 4 proposes to increase building energy efficiency. There are 2 new programs that we would propose, which would require energy audits for commercial or residential property owners who are making large-scale improvements, large tenant improvements or additions to their property, to do an energy audit to gain meaningful information about ways they can improve the energy efficiency of their home and have the opportunity to make those improvements as part of their project. And we propose to do that through incentivizing it, through reduced permitting fees, and expedited permitting. We also have existing programs within the city, the Critical Home Repair Program and Home Rehabilitation Loans, which include energy efficiency components, and we're proposing to continue those programs and efforts. And then we'll focus on municipal facilities and infrastructure and improving energy efficiency there through evaluating our facilities and retrofitting our streetlights. Strategy 5 involves increasing renewable and zero carbon energy. This is where the greatest reduction in greenhouse gas emissions comes from, is truly replacing some of the older, less clean energy and with cleaner electricity. So we're proposing three actions under this strategy. The first is to incentivize solar systems on commercial buildings. We have great adoption of solar in residential facilities. About 98% of our solar facilities are on residential properties, but there's less of a connection between commercial property owners and perhaps their tenants' energy bills. And so through incentivizing property owners to install or install solar on commercial buildings where it's used during the day, we think there's a great opportunity there to bring in more clean energy. And then we have a measure to increase or to support the school district's efforts, their continued efforts to generate renewable energy on their facilities as well. The last action here is related to a new goal for the city to achieve 80% clean energy, renewable energy by 2030. And at this present time, we believe that it's prudent for us to look at ways that can be done. There's a lot of uncertainty currently in energy procurement in the state of California. And so how we're presenting this item is that we would like to research those potential alternatives, assuming that you would adopt this, and we would bring back those alternatives to the City Council. Strategy 6 will continue efforts on increasing water efficiency through current programs to require weather-based irrigation controllers and a new measure to require covers on new pools. Strategy 7, reducing and recycling solid waste, would align a city goal of a 75% waste diversion rate with the state's 75% diversion goal. And this is anticipated to be accomplished through new organics, recycling, and diversion from the landfill. And the last action is carbon sequestration, which is the planting of trees. And actions here would involve ordinance amendments to increase requirements for tree planting, as well as a street tree requirement for new development projects. We believe that there's a lot of benefit, not just in greenhouse gas emissions, but increased shade areas, aesthetic reasons. Makes it more enjoyable to walk and recreate in El Cajon when there's shade, especially in the summer. So the process of developing a CAP is an iterative process, and we know over time that we're going to monitor and evaluate the climate action plan to make sure that we're making adequate progress. And SANDAG is updating greenhouse gas inventories every 2 years, and the city will be city staff will bring periodic updates back to the Planning Commission or City Council with the progress that we've made on implementing these actions and how we're doing. As mentioned previously, a program environmental impact report was prepared for this project. CEQA does require one when there is evidence that a project may have a significant impact on the environment. However, the EIR concluded that there was no potential significant environmental impact from the adoption of a climate action plan. And we did also analyze a no project alternative and also a mandatory rooftop solar requirement for commercial properties. The commercial solar requirement was rejected, as we believe that it was inconsistent with general plan goals and would place an unreasonable burden on commercial property owners. We would prefer to incentivize and encourage this rather than mandate it. The EIR was available for public review for 45 days, and 2 comment letters were received, but neither letter raised any issues that required, regarding the adequacy of the EIR, required any further revisions. As mentioned, one of the primary reasons that we are developing this climate action plan and bringing it before you is that we know that we have to evaluate greenhouse gas analysis for projects. And having a CAP will allow us to have an overall comprehensive plan and not place that requirement on a project to mitigate their own greenhouse gases on site. So CEQA allows us to do that, to create what's called a qualified climate action plan. And there are certain requirements that we have to meet, which I've outlined up here. The first 3 are to quantify greenhouse gas emissions, establish target levels, and identify projected emissions. All 3 of which we've done, as I mentioned, in the inventory and the projections. The next requirement is that we specify measures to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and include performance standards. Each of our actions in the Climate Action Plan has a numeric threshold or goal associated with it, something measurable and concrete. And if it doesn't, it's a supporting measure, and there's no reduction associated with it. The next two are to establish a mechanism to monitor the plan and adopt during a public review process. So we have a monitoring chapter in the Climate Action Plan, and we'll be continuing to evaluate our progress on measures, and we'll substitute and add measures as needed over time. The Planning Commission, after a public workshop and then a public hearing on June 18th, unanimously recommended City Council approve the Climate Action Plan. They did request that we include an action to develop a tree preservation or replanting policy, which we've included as a supporting measure in the Climate Action Plan. Staff's recommendation is that the City Council certify the environmental impact report and approve the Climate Action Plan. The Climate Action Plan will provide a comprehensive plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions through strategies that are reasonable and achievable for El Cajon. It will allow for the city to streamline CEQA for future projects, align city actions with state goals and targets, make us eligible to receive grant funding, and result in co-benefits such as improved air quality. And this concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me see if there's some questions for you. Bob?
What will this cost be to the city going forward with this plan over, say, the next 10 years that you're shooting at 2030, of course?
Many of the actions that we have here are existing programs or things that we're currently doing as a city. Very few of them require direct economic investment from the city itself. But where they do, obviously, we would, be looking for council's direction on where to allocate resources.
How about for the businesses that come into the city or do business in the city? How will that affect their economics? What are the pluses and minuses?
The pluses and minuses. So the advantage for a new business, if someone wants to come in and build a new development like the Hampton Inn commercial development, where they just opened up the In-N-Out and are opening up the retail stores, that project, if it were to come in, next year, they would have to mitigate all their greenhouse gas emissions. So they would be looking at generating on-site electricity. They'd be looking at maybe purchasing credits. So that would put quite a burden on a developer, to establish a new development project in El Cajon without a climate action plan. So maybe some of the disadvantages, if you're a business owner and you want to make a significant expansion of your business, you may have to, do an energy audit, which might result in the cost of a few $100s, but you may see back those savings quite significantly with improvements.
So the In-N-Out wouldn't have to have the solar and all that and everything if they if we adopt this climate action plan?
That's correct. There would be no future impact as long as the future projects are consistent with this plan. They would not have to assume any cumulative greenhouse gas.
And to be consistent with the plan, they'd have to have solar?
No. There's no
so
requirement.
There'd be no
for solar.
requirements on businesses then?
No requirement for solar.
Okay. So the cost would be zero for new businesses and buildings and stuff like that. But if they want to put them in, they can do it. Basically is what it says.
Depending on the measure. I mean, there are some measures. So if you're putting in electric vehicle charging stations, may require additional vehicle chargers over and above what the current code requires. So there would be some minimal costs associated with it, depending on how the measures affect you.
I just don't want to drive business out of El Cajon by doing something now that might impact them at a later date. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Good, Steve.
The vehicles travel, the 52% related to that. When you talk about increasing density near transit stations and things like that, this is really a zoning action, not a development or construction action, correct? I should clarify. You're just zoning the property so that somebody who wants to build higher density can do it there, pre-approved. You're not saying the city should build higher density using low-income housing funds.
Correct.
Are you?
No, we are just promoting infill development within those areas, encouraging it.
So you're making it possible for developers to do that pre-approved in a sense. The
Essentially
zoning.
supporting it through this process.
The incentivizing of solar, where would the incentives come from?
So we believe that we could do that through a reduction potentially in permit fees, as well as further expediting the processing time.
But our permit fees, I think, are the second lowest among the 18 cities in San Diego County. You don't have much room to go down much further, do you?
That would be something that we would analyze, assuming that this measure is included in the climate action plan and approved.
On the trash diversion, you talked about organic waste. Is there some legislation from California that might be coming down requiring us to do that anyway?
Yes, there is.
And that's going to result in a cost to everyone, potentially, if that's the state legislation. Is that correct?
That is true.
Okay. Thank you.
Gary?
Question for the city manager regarding the housing element and how that fits into this. We just rezoned a lot of property around the transit center. Do you want to talk about that?
If I might, Mayor and City Council, you're right. The City Council did adopt a transit-specific plan that targeted over 700 acres of land in and around the main station to focus new development in that area. I also remind the City Council that you adopted a mixed-use overlay zone in 4 targeted areas in the city, and all in all, that mixed-use overlay zone, in concert with the transit-specific plan, has the means to produce thousands of new affordable housing units when the market is ready for it.
I'll just add on to that. I mean, there's reasons why you do that. One is from an environmental perspective, but it also makes good economic sense, and that's what we've tried to marry as part of this climate action plan is market realities with being a good steward to the environment. So throughout the plan, you'll see those types of examples of things that we're already implementing or that we plan to implement soon that make financial sense.
Yeah, in fact, I remember one example was that students going to San Diego State University, if they live right next to the trolley center, they just hop on the trolley and get off right in the middle of San Diego State. So that's going to cut some greenhouse gases right there. They're not going to be driving their car.
If we do build near the transit center, there was an article not too long ago in the paper about when they build near a trolley station that those are new units, and as the rental rates are very high in San Diego, students probably wouldn't be able to afford them. So it might not be those people that would be renting them.
That's true, although as we explore development on the MTS site, for example, MTS has a requirement that 20% of that project be affordable. So that's sort of a requirement as part of that development. The other thing is, if you think about it, this city has not built an apartment complex in over a decade. Is that right, Mr. Shute? A market rate. We have only built affordable housing because there's money behind it. And we think that the affordable component will be actually a catalyst for the market rate. And if you look at our imbalance in our city of apartments to single family, if you look at our imbalance in our community of low income to moderate income families, we have one of the highest imbalances in this county of San Diego. Right. We think that building affordable housing could be the catalyst to get the market rate housing that our city's craving right now, which we haven't built for years, or which have not been built for years and years.
Okay.
Oh, Bob, just to address your concern about the rents, my son was paying, shared a dorm with 2 other people, and it was $800 a piece, $2,400 a month for a tiny little place where they're stacked on top of each other. So I think someone would be really happy to pay a couple $1,000s a month for an apartment right by the trolley, to just hop on the trolley and 15 minutes later they're at San Diego State. So there's some, because our land is so cheap here, we don't have to, they can build less expensively than closer to the campuses.
Melissa, environmental impact report was noticed on March 1st. There was a meeting on March 18th. The draft EIR was out from April 17th through May 31st. Does that meet all required timelines for public to weigh in?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you.
More questions? I have a question of the presenters. One of the groups that came out at our last council meeting and expressed some displeasure with the climate action plan said that this climate action plan wouldn't meet CEQA guidelines. And I wonder what your thoughts were on that.
So we meet all requirements under CEQA. We've prepared the environmental impact report. As mentioned, we've met all noticing public review requirements. The EIR and the CAP were prepared to be a qualified CAP so that we can streamline the future, and we've met all requirements for streamlining.
Is there any part of this climate action plan that does not meet the state or federal requirements for a climate action plan?
No, there is not.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, Gary.
Oh, I just want to thank you for having so much citizen input, from the El Cajon community. That's really important that we had the buy-in of the people that live in El Cajon. So I'm very impressed with that. So thanks for doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you did it's a huge project. So congratulations to you and all the other people that worked with you on the staff. Thank you very much. Okay, the public hearing is now open. Angela, do we have any speaker cards on this item?
We have 14 speaker cards. The first one is Hatem Motsabe. Hatem.
Before we get started, I would just say that 14 speaker cards is going to make it a real long night, which is fine. You have the right to come up and speak, but if what you're saying is basically the same thing the person in front of you said or the person in front of you before that said, it's okay to just say that you agree with all those things and move along so we can get to the rest of the night as well. So thank you.
Okay, so last call for Hatem Motsabe. Okay, our next speaker is Nora Abunadi. Oh, is this Hatem?
Hi, welcome.
Sorry.
It's okay.
How you doing? My name is Hatem. I'm a community member here in El Cajon. I'm also a community organizer with the Partnership for the Advancement of New Americans. I was looking at the public outreach that was presented. I would like to say that in the past month we have been outreaching to community institutions and community organizations to ask if they were reached out to regarding the CAP. And a lot of the community institutions and organizations didn't have any idea of that it's coming up. So I would like to request to delay the adoption of CAP and to give a chance for community members and organizations to do outreach with the community in El Cajon so we can bring recommendations for the CAP. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nora Abunadi.
Hello.
Hi, good evening. My name is Nora, and I'm a community member of El Cajon. The Climate Action Plan provides the perfect opportunity to address both the climate crisis and the housing affordability crisis. Building affordable housing near transit and jobs is a proven strategy to help reduce pollution and can bring economic prosperity and opportunity to the region. I believe that the Climate Action Plan should address the climate crisis and the housing crisis. Our families need affordable housing, and we cannot pass up an opportunity to give much-needed relief to the families in El Cajon. The City Council should delay adoption to do genuine outreach and incorporate the needs of the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nadine Hassoun.
Hello, Nadine. Welcome.
Hi, good evening.
Thank you for giving me the time and opportunity to speak. So I'm a community organizer with the Mejdal Community Center, a center that serves immigrant and refugee families here in El Cajon. We ask that the City Council delay adoption of Climate Action Plan because it lacks authentic input from the community. There's a responsibility on the city to engage community members in a way that's inclusive and equitable. So the most affected and most vulnerable people have a say in what goes into the plan. Our community in El Cajon is experiencing housing instability, and the Climate Action Plan provides a perfect opportunity to address both the climate crisis and the housing affordability crisis. However, currently the Climate Action Plan doesn't include strategies that advance the development of affordable housing in El Cajon, especially near the city's transit centers and high-frequency bus lines. Building affordable housing near transit and near jobs is a proven strategy to help reduce pollution and can also bring economic prosperity and opportunity to the region. Our families desperately need affordable housing, and we can't pass up this opportunity to give much-needed relief to our families here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carla Slater Kittrick.
Hello, welcome.
Hi. My name is Carla Slater-Kettrick, and I am here to represent San Diego 350.org, which I've been involved with over some time. I've also been involved in the faith community as a member of the Foothills United Methodist Church. My family and I have been here for 18 years. We have the 3 children, and I've been looking to the city of El Cajon to find out, what we're doing for climate action. I'm glad to see that we're addressing it. I think we're behind the ball. Other communities, I look to Solana Beach for their leadership in this area, and I think it's time for El Cajon to be brave, be bold. This climate action plan does not it is weak. If you really look into it, there's not really any measurable steps, no specific steps, no timelines. Those who are accountable aren't listed. I don't see stakeholders listed in any successful and strategic plan. Should include a list of stakeholders that bring together every aspect of the community: business leaders, the faith community, diverse communities, anybody and everybody who will be impacted by this need to be brought together. The onus is on the city to make sure that those members are brought together, not waiting for them to come to you. Those stakeholders should be listed on the plan, and they should, their part in making the plan successful should be also identified in the plan. Everybody needs to agree. Any of those key stakeholders need to agree to the plan and the steps that are needed to get there. I think that you need to delay the vote so that this can take place, and we do the proper work that we need to bring together the parties and get agreement as to what the measurable steps are and who's accountable to each of those steps. I look to this and see that there's just a lot missing from it. So I encourage you to delay the vote, do the necessary groundwork, and make sure that we are doing what we need to be a leader in this in the San Diego community. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Bruner.
John, welcome.
Good evening. My name is JP. I'm the co-lead of the Climate Change Committee of the Surfrider Foundation in San Diego County. I'm here representing our 2,000 due-paying members in the county, many of whom live here in El Cajon. And we urge you to delay the adoption of the draft cap and include a commitment to 100% renewable energy by 2030 with community choice as the path to accomplish this goal. These 2 commitments are not only imperative in our warming world, but also proven to be feasible and economically beneficial throughout our own county and state. By 2020, community choice in California will serve 18 million people, saving them an estimated $190 million and preventing 5.5 million metric tons of greenhouse gases. Community choice is the tried and true path to 100% renewable energy and gives residents of El Cajon the keys to their clean energy future. This is a great opportunity for El Cajon to create local jobs and save ratepayers money while simultaneously providing cleaner energy to its residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Malika Marston.
Hi, Malika. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Malika Marsden. I'm a climate justice organizer with Climate Action Campaign. Climate Action Campaign is a nonprofit organization with a simple mission to stop the climate crisis. We work in all 18 cities and the county and have participated in the process of CAP development for 7 cities in our region, 6 of which adopted a 100% renewable energy target by the year 2030 or 2035 with community choice energy. We want to start by thanking the city for developing a climate action plan, as we can only keep our air clean and our water safe by working together. We also want to thank Councilmember Goebel and Councilmember Ortiz for meeting with us to learn more about the community's perspective on a climate action plan. However, as it stands, we do not believe this plan is ready for adoption, and we are urging a delay in the vote tonight. We've expressed our concerns in multiple settings that the CAP does not pass legal muster and will not protect public health or quality of life for El Cajon families. Our biggest concern is that the CAP does not comply with state law. CEQA is explicit that when you are adopting a climate action plan that will allow for streamlining approval of new development, you must have substantial evidence that your plan will reduce greenhouse gas emissions to meet state law. You do not have that substantial evidence in your plan. You have multiple actions that are voluntary or non-specific, and they do not give confidence to the community or the courts that you will achieve the emissions reductions required. The most notable example in your plan that violates CEQA is City Action RE 2.1, which states that your goal is to reach 80% renewable energy by 2030. The action to get there is to research methods. To research methods does not provide substantial evidence that the city will be able to meet its target and thus cannot be relied on for those reductions. Climate action plans that do not comply with state law risk litigation. After the County of San Diego refused to adopt a CAP that complied with CEQA, environmental organizations had to sue the county to get the plan rescinded. We won, but we don't want that case here. We want to partner with you to work through this. Overall, we also believe you are missing key opportunities to set El Cajon on par with other cities in our region. We recommend the CAP include committing to 100% clean energy with community choice energy, building affordable housing near transit, prioritizing equity, and ensuring all measures comply with CEQA. Last month, the American Medical Association and 70 other medical associations issued an unprecedented call to action on climate change, calling it the greatest public health challenge of the 21st century and a true public health emergency. Today, we strongly urge you to listen to these concerns. Thank you very much.
Matthew Vasilakis.
Good evening, council members and mayor. My name is Matthew Vasilakis from Climate Action Campaign and coordinator of the San Diego Community Choice Alliance. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about the future of clean energy in El Cajon and in California, community choice energy, otherwise known as CCE or CCA. CCE programs have been operating across California for nearly a decade, providing cleaner, more affordable electricity than the traditional monopoly utilities. There are 19 successfully operating CCE programs covering over 160 cities and counties in California. These CCEs have saved California families $90 million in 2018 alone in electricity costs while offering significantly higher rates of renewable energy than their for-profit competitors. Additionally, CCEs have been driving local clean energy power development in the state, investing in over 2,000 kilowatts of new clean energy projects, solar, wind, and battery storage that are creating good local middle-class jobs. The San Diego region is on the cusp of establishing a regional community choice energy program, leveraging the economies of scale and working together to finally bring more affordable rates, clean energy, and local economic development to frontline communities. Simultaneously, SDG&E is looking to get out of the energy procurement business entirely, which may leave cities without CCE programs stranded with a potential statewide agency dictating their energy choices. El Cajon needs to commit to a feasibility study for community choice energy to catch up with the rest of the region and gain local control of its energy supply, while also setting a 100% clean energy target to meet state mandates. To address the climate crisis, we must use all policy and programmatic tools available. Community choice energy is proven, effective, and relatively simple solution to invest and protect our communities. Thank you.
Evelyn Andrade Hamesfield.
Good evening. My name is Evelyn Andrade Heimsfield. I'm the president of the East County chapter of the San Diego County Progressive Democratic Club. I'm here representing members throughout East County, many of which live in the city of El Cajon. We are calling on the City Council to not adopt the current Climate Action Plan. The Climate Action Plan, as is not aggressive enough to fight the crisis we are facing. El Cajon residents deserve a climate action plan that will help the communities most affected by the climate crisis, specifically low-income communities of color that are disproportionately suffering from bad air pollution. The city has not done enough outreach to have genuine input from the community, and they deserve the opportunity to have their voice heard. Additionally, the Climate Action Plan should address both the climate crisis and the affordable housing crisis. My generation is dealing with the decisions made by our predecessors that have resulted in the climate crisis we are facing today, and we have to think about our planet's future as we build more housing. We need affordable housing near public transit, which is a proven solution to reduce emissions. The Climate Action Plan should include a commitment to pursue state grants such as the Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Grant to support affordable housing near transit, such as the Cornerstone Place project on Sunshine Avenue. El Cajon is not even close to reaching its regional housing needs allocation targets, reaching only 3% of its very low income, 7.5% of its low income, and only 3% of its moderate income housing goals. El Cajon is not building enough affordable housing to meet RHNA planning targets, and an aggressive climate action plan could be an opportunity to meet the housing needs of the community. I would also like to ask that the Climate Action Plan commit to 100% clean energy with community choice energy. There are 6 other cities in the region committed to 100% renewable clean energy, and likely more to follow. This is the new standard, and El Cajon should not fall behind. We are facing a climate crisis that must be addressed with aggressive and immediate action. We are seeing weather extremes like record-breaking temperatures, including more intense, more frequent, and longer-lasting heat waves. We are seeing more and more devastating wildfires. Hurricanes are becoming more frequent while getting stronger and lasting longer. The climate crisis is the biggest threat facing our nation and our world. We are seeing entire ecosystems declining, and we must do everything in our power to stop and mitigate the disastrous impacts of climate change. We must do everything we can on a local level to help the crisis. Our time is running out, and we need you to be leaders in this movement. We're relying on you to ensure that we have a safe and livable future on this planet. I implore you to delay the adoption of the Climate Action Plan and have an inclusive process with more opportunity for community input. We're counting on you, and we need a plan that gets us to zero emissions by 2035. Thank you.
We have 6 more speakers. The next one is Ravi Gopinathan.
Hi, my name is Ravi Gopinathan, and I'm a student at Mesa College. I think the first thing is that air pollution is obvious. The effects of climate change are visible to anyone just from being behind a bus or truck, you notice the exhaust and pollution. And if you haven't noticed, then it means you probably haven't been to a forest where there's high levels of oxygen and the air is completely different. So I support a climate action plan that actually includes enforcement of these goals. The things like electric school buses that the climate action campaign was talking about. If they actually enforced included enforcement measures, that would be a lot better. Increase public education and awareness of electric vehicles and the capabilities and the increasing range and decreasing cost. The City of San Diego received an F rating by the American Lung Association because of on-air pollution. So included in that, I would support the planting of more trees in between sidewalks and streets, especially because that makes it more pleasant to be walking on a street, in addition to providing shade and lowering temperatures, as well as principally increasing oxygen and taking CO2 out of the atmosphere. Bike lanes. I think El Cajon should have better bike infrastructure, more painted. It's just paint on the road, as well as also protected bike lanes where it's relatively cheap, having little curbs that, just like what you see on the side of a sidewalk, to in between the cars and the bike lane, to encourage more people to bike, and the increased safety included in that. And affordable housing. This does not do enough for affordable housing in El Cajon. As someone has said, there hasn't been an apartment complex approved here in El Cajon for over 10 years, and there's great demand for more housing, just not enough being allowed by all sorts of regulations. And conservatives are typically pro-free market, but with this issue they tend not to be. So it is estimated that if we don't slash greenhouse gas emissions by 45% below 2010 levels by 2030 and reach net zero emissions by 2050, we will increase global temperatures by over 1.5%. So I think there's not been enough public input on this issue. I believe it's the community's job, it's the public's job to engage the citizens in voting as much as it is the public's job to vote. So, and I think the effects are going to be sea level rise. Even in San Diego, a lot of beaches are going to be underwater. And the effect on future generations. We aren't, politicians currently aren't being held accountable by voters that will be in the future.
Sorry, your time's up.
Okay, so please delay the implementation of the...
Thank you.
Mike Graue.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Micah Krawi. I'm a local resident and local business owner. I'm a part of the Newcomers in Action, and we worked on this draft for the last couple months. Through my experience as a business broker and real estate broker, I believe that the policy will bring more business as a commercial and residential, and I think we should start somewhere, and this is a good start. So please consider to, adopt this plan.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council members. So we have 4 cards, so we want to speak all together.
Thank you.
Just to save time. My name is Mohammed Touama. I'm with the Newcomers in Action and the Newcomers Support and Development. We worked on this plan since last year, and I would like, and I just want to emphasize that we are El Cajon residents. Just again, we live in El Cajon. So, and the people who said that there is no outreach, I just want to ask them, do you recognize that meeting? Of course not, because this is the El Cajon Collaborative and you don't live here. That event is next to the fire department. You don't know what is that. We invited the agency that the guy came in and said that we don't really have any outreach. We invited them since last year to attend our newcomers meeting regarding the climate action plan. They did not attend. The climate action campaign actually attended our meetings, actually starting early this year, so they are aware of this, the whole outreach thing. We did the outreach for the Middle Eastern community. We did publications in Arabic in our Middle Eastern Community magazine, and there are Facebook posts regarding this. We have over 400 people participated from our community only, and we did an outreach event at the American on Main Street, and I just want to ask them if they know what American on Main Street is. So that is another thing. The third one, we partnered with Sandag, and we partnered with the San Diego River Park Foundation. 270 people came in and learned about the climate action plan in Arabic, Kurdish, Chaldean, Farsi, and English at that day. And that was February 26th. So there has been great outreach, and Melissa and Lorena, they did great outreach to the business owners, to the collaborative, to a lot of other meetings. And the last thing was the open house that was a few months ago at the El Cajon Library. So I believe the notes that taken from the community were directly genuine from the community. So this is what we have been doing since the last few years. Sorry, I didn't have time to speak about the climate action plan policy itself, but I just want to give you our take as community members regarding this. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tabid Khalaf. Okay, he's represented already. Dina Dolus. Oh, she was part of the group. Ryan Beal.
Good evening, council members and mayor. My name is Ryan Beal. I am the chair of the Young Professionals Advisory Council for Climate Action Campaign, and I'm also a mentor for Partners in College Success, which is a nonprofit that works with students here in El Cajon. And to save time, Mayor Wells, in terms of not reiterating the same message, a few things I heard tonight was partners, families, and standards. Standards to ensure that meeting state and federal guidelines. And attending this meeting tonight, you gentlemen don't strike me as individuals that just want to meet standards. So it's looking at how can you get ahead of the curve and go above and beyond. So looking at what other constituents and other parties have done in terms of other cities to get 100% clean energy by 2030. In addition to looking at what are the demographics and students need when it comes to affordable housing. The students that I work with are very family oriented. So having that connection, it's living with their families while still attending school, working part-time jobs. So Councilmember Kendrick, when you mentioned your son and having to pay that price, wanting to live in a comfortable situation, so being able to have access to transportation in addition to affordable housing not only brings comfort and security to the students, but the families that they're supporting, refugees and individuals that are dealing with those issues as well. I want to ensure that you guys also pay attention to community choice and making sure that that's involved in this plan, ensuring that the population has options, and that's the way that they can save money as well. And I appreciate your time tonight, and I ask that you delay the vote and or vote no. Thank you.
Our last speaker is James Elia.
How's it going, Council? I'm going to reiterate with the experts that are saying you should not adopt this tonight. I'm a resident of El Cajon, and I can appreciate the groups that put in work on this, but it's just simply not up to par. And regardless of how much outreach there is, I've lived in El Cajon my whole life. I was unaware of anything going on in regards to climate action in El Cajon. I ran for office, and I was privy to a lot of issues in the city. I had no idea that any of this was going on. So obviously it wasn't marketed the way that it's being branded. I'm also Middle Eastern and didn't receive any outreach from the Middle Eastern community. As many of you know, I'm really obnoxious on Facebook, and I didn't receive any ads on Facebook about this either. So I knew about this because I saw the experts saying how bad this plan was. And when I looked into it, I said it's insufficient. It's just simple. It's insufficient. So you had a room full of experts tonight telling you this is insufficient. You definitely should not adopt this. What message will you be sending the public voting for something that experts are telling you is not good? There's a lot of residents out here that want things done appropriately, that want things done timely, and want things done in the best interest for the city. What message will you be sending by doing something against what experts are saying? So please don't adopt this.
Thanks, Judge. Okay.
No more speakers, sir.
Okay. Sure, come on up. Yeah, it's okay. Come on up.
I am a resident of El Cajon. I had been for 18 years. I think I said that. And I have been at the El Cajon Collaborative meeting. I was there when they initially presented that they were going to be going through the climate action plan. But as to really the awareness and somebody used the word marketing of it, I think that was a little bit lacking. And I just, as I had said before, I think the onus is on the city to make sure they bring together all the stakeholders involved in it. And I can appreciate that some community members were really very involved and helping to communicate it to their sector of the community. But I don't think that enough of the diversity of the community has been brought together to really help contribute to the plan and what is needed. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, is that the last speaker? Great. I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
All right, council, it's up to us at this point. I have a few questions of staff, but I'll let you all go first. Bob?
Well, a lot of these people that spoke tonight don't realize where we've come from already. I remember flying into Los Angeles 60 years ago, and you couldn't see the ground till you got about 150 feet over the ground because the smog was so thick then. That was before we had pollution controls on automobiles, which takes out probably 99% of the pollutants out of the air. We've come a long ways. I was recently, about 3 months ago, in China, and they burned soft coal over there. And the air was very dirty. It really affects your breathing. It affected both my wife and I. And we've come a long ways from where other countries are. And if they would do the things that we've done to clean up their air, we wouldn't have the problems in our world that we have today. But they're not doing it, and we are. And this costs a lot of money for businesses to do this. And so we're uncompetitive when we require a business to do some of these things that a lot of the speakers were talking about tonight. We're uncompetitive with the rest of the world. So I'm in complete agreement that our action plan is sufficient. It's a place to start. If we want to get better later, it can always be updated or can be changed. So I'm totally in agreement with the climate action plan.
A question for staff. This climate action plan, this is not set in stone, is it?
Mr. Goebel, like all plans, it can be adopted and molded. For example, I'll just use the CCA, for example. The city managers, we get together monthly, and it comes up almost every month. And we talk about where other cities are at with it. And based on what I'm hearing from other cities, I'm not ready to recommend that to the city council. But there could be a time when it makes sense, and all the CCAs that I'm seeing moving into place have a JPA with ability to join in. At that point, we would modify the cap and recommend a CCA. So I think there's a lot of flexibility with the plan, and I think I heard one of the public commenters say that this is a good starting point that gets us moving in the right direction.
There seemed to be some confusion about the affordable housing, and we rezoned all that property around the transit center. How many units are in that big triangle that we rezoned within walking distance? I mean, how many potential units? Have any idea?
1,800.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Kendrick, we just met with an affordable housing developer last week that's proposing about 120 unit affordable project adjacent to the trolley tracks. And so that's whether there's a cap or not, it makes financial sense, and we're moving forward with investigating that project to bring it forward to the council. So that's something that we're already doing and will do with or without a climate action plan.
All right, thank you.
Now, to clarify, a climate action plan is not a housing plan, is it?
No, that's what your housing element is.
Yeah, so when we hear comments about not meeting the RHNA, the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, that's part of the housing element housing plan, correct?
That's correct.
And to say we've only met 3%, it's really not up to us to get those units built, is it? It's up to us to provide the zoning that they can be built.
That's absolutely correct.
So when the statement is made, the cap could meet those RHNA goals, do you agree?
I actually whispered over to our assistant city manager and said, how would a plan guarantee that housing units are built without significant financial contribution?
We've heard some talk quite a bit about affordable housing. I'm going to set that aside because I think that's more for the housing element part, not for the climate action plan. I understand it could be a part of the CAP, but not to the extent that I think it's been discussed. There's talk about going from 80% to 100% renewable energy. What's the state requirement?
And the state has a requirement of investor-owned utilities achieving 60% renewable energy by 2030.
So the state's requirement is 60%, and we're proposing to exceed that to get to 80%.
Correct.
I think that's pretty admirable in the proposal.
Mr. Goebel, you should be aware we have a contract with Willdan. Right now they're exploring every single city-owned property and looking at opportunities to install solar at city properties as well as battery storage. So we're exploring that right now to get to that goal.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? A couple questions. I think I know the answers to this, but I want to make sure that we address this. Some of the comments tonight said that we did not properly notice residents, that we were not inclusive in noticing residents, we were not equitable in noticing residents. What's your statement on these?
Mr. Mayor, as that comment was being made, I went to our city's Facebook account and noticed that on May 22nd, we had a Facebook ad encouraging people to come to a workshop. We were giving away LED light bulbs to that. I did notice that, including me, 6 people liked that. I just comment, In-N-Out Burger grand opening had 360 likes. So that gives you the sense. But we did outreach, Mr. Mayor. You heard that we were at America on Main Street. We were at the library. We met with a lot of different groups. I think we did as much outreach on this as we've done on anything in decades.
All right. Thank you. And I just want to say, when it comes to RHNA numbers, it's a little bit disingenuous. The state has imposed ridiculous RHNA numbers for every city in the state right now. We don't know exactly why they did that, but it seems to me that it's very tied to this whole climate action plan. We talked about the Sandag. We actually voted against increasing RHNA numbers of Sandag, and then San Diego used the new AB 805 ability to overrule us as a region and increase our RHNA numbers, knowing very well that that no city in the state came close to meeting their RHNA numbers before they increased it. So it's a false number, and it doesn't go very far in getting anybody to change their mind about the way this works. I just wanted to point that out because I know that you probably didn't know that it's been something we've been dealing with for quite a long time. Okay, council, I've answered my questions. Do you have any questions? Does somebody want to make a motion?
I'd move to adopt the next resolution order adopting the findings and certifying the program environmental impact report number 91.
Second.
Move and second. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
I would move to adopt the next resolution order approving the climate action plan.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break before we come back to the last part of the meeting on picking a new planning commissioner, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I know we're having fun. We've got a little bit more city council work to do. If you could all take your seats, I'd appreciate that. The last item on today's agenda is item 103, interviews for the Planning Commission vacancy. 6 applicants were received. When I call your name, please come forward to the podium. You will be given 2 minutes to speak. After that, there may be questions that will follow from the council. After the appointment is made, the city clerk will administer the oath of office. Okay. After each applicant, let's see, hold on. Oh, I think I need to see if there are any speaker cards in this item.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have 2 speakers. The first one is Dr. Nuri Barka.
Welcome, Dr. Barka.
Good evening. So, I'm Dr. Nuri Barka. I'm the president of the Chaldean League of California. And I'm here to speak in support of Jacqueline Sana. I like Jacqueline because she's a proud American and she's proud to be a Chaldean. And also she's proud that she has served in the U.S. Army for many years. Even that she was threatened to be killed, she did not give up and she continued her mission in Iraq. Jacqueline went through a lot of suffering as a woman and as a Christian minority before she could reach the land of the free. Now Jacqueline is in El Cajon and she is ready and proud to serve our El Cajon city. She has all the skills that needs to be a member of the Planning Commission. And I appreciate your support for Jacqueline to be a member of the Planning Commission as a woman, as a minority, as a woman that she has suffered and did help our troop in Iraq. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Our last speaker is Keith Ishaki.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. This occasion brings, it's both joyful. It's always nice to speak here. It's a lot of fun. I should come more often.
Well, if it's, we're going to have to charge admission if it's too fun for you.
The last time I was here, if you remember, I spoke on behalf of my friend Michael Griffiths.
Oh, yes.
Who, as you know, just passed away. And he was an amazing man. He's the reason I was involved with everybody here in El Cajon, with El Cajon servant leaders. I went to his funeral on Saturday and just wanted to say a couple words for in his honor and his tribute. And it was tough at that time because there were so many good people. It's always tough when there is good people applying for a position and you have to support somebody. So it's really tough. But today I am compelled to support Jacqueline Sana, and that's why I'm here. And I want to thank some of the Chaldean American women also who are here to support her. They're all recent comers to the city of El Cajon that has embraced a lot of these newcomer refugees. So when I think of Jacqueline, I think of few words, basically courage, tenacity, loyalty, kindness, and a servant heart. And I'll tell you why. With respect to the courage, so she worked for the American forces in the Green Zone in Baghdad. And one day, as she is entering to go to work, because she had to support her family, she signed a contract. A bullet wrapped in a paper that had on it a threat to kill her if she continued to work with the American forces was thrown at her by a terrorist group representative. They were in the area. It hit her leg. She opens it, and a threat to threaten her not to go inside and quit working with the Americans. So what does she do? She leaves that gate and goes and enters from another gate. Her American commander actually asked her, recommended that she does not stay in her job. She said, "No, Commander, I have to finish what I started. I signed a contract with you, I have to finish, and I need a job." Threats continue in her life. And then she has to leave Iraq in fear and became a refugee in many countries, suffered a lot. Finally, she got to, as Dr. Nouri said, the land of the free. I think New York, right? You came to New York. And it was very cold when she told me the story, and I recently met her. A friend of her, Mr. Riyadh Gabbola, where is Riyadh? He's right here. He told her, "Why don't you come here?" And he is one of the people that she helped. As you know, Dr. Nouri and I are very active at the service of the community and many communities, and we do a lot. But we never heard of her because she serves under the radar. She serves without fanfare. So she is really a woman of humility, amazing humility. And she, even when she addresses people, she is like very, very respectful. So she comes here. What is the first thing? She arrives in El Cajon. Guess what is the first thing she does? She goes and volunteers for a whole year at a charity organization, Chaldean Middle Eastern Social Services, to serve all the people of El Cajon, all the low-income people that need, the low-income health group. And now they're actually, they were acquired by San Isidro Health, if you know.
Keith?
I'm almost out of time.
Okay, you're out of time. But that's,
okay, no problem. No problem. I'm almost done.
You're on a roll. I owed you a few seconds for the Michael stuff.
So anyway, all I'm saying is I highly recommend you choose her for a planning commissioner. She's a woman with a servant's heart. She has served and she is capable. She is ready to serve, and I highly recommend you choose her. Thank you so much.
Deacon, thank you very much.
Sir, we received one more card.
Okay, sure.
Mohammed Tuama.
Hi, Mohammed. Welcome.
Good evening, City Council members and staff. I know it's been a long day so far. So I'm here speaking on my individual capacity as a resident of El Cajon. I know there are candidates well qualified here. Last time I was here speaking on the appointment of the new City Council member for Ortiz, and I was thinking of practicality of having a City Council member. That's why I started by saying having one person from the Planning Commission is more practical, and that's why I started with the Planning Commission. Then the other candidates was Humbert Cabrera. This time coming back and talking about the practicality of appointing someone to the Planning Commission. So I'm here to support Mike Akrawi and Humbert Cabrera for their expertise. And the Planning Commission so far, we have diversity of ethnicity and gender. So the only thing that's missing is Middle Eastern person that is help and connect the city to the Middle Eastern community, especially businesses that we're struggling with a lot. So that's why I'm still recommending right now Mike Akrawi, been involved in a lot of things in the community with the Newcomers in Action, and he's been involved with the specific transit district plan, the Leadership Academy, the Climate Action Plan. Has been involved in a lot of places, and I'm the only thing that I'm really sorry to speak about today, that it is not really good for our image, us supporting the city and trying to connect the community to the city by seeing someone who never been to a city council meeting ever, or a planning commission meeting ever, appointed as a city council as a planning commissioner. So that's why, going back, Michael Crowley, Humbert Cabrera, and the choice is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Sir, one more card. Ms. Jill Bartow.
Hey, Jill.
Hello. I'm sorry I'm fighting a cold, but the only reason I'm here is for the importance of tonight. Humbert has served in this community for so many years. He can cite where he's worked. He can cite job problems. He can solve resolutions for them. I think that he deserves to be our next planning commissioner, and I would ask for your support for that. He has done so much for our community. He is prepared. He is probably the most knowledgeable person. And thank you for letting me speak. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Jill. Ms. Bartow is a member of our local school board. We should mention that.
No more cards.
Okay, then. I'm going to make a motion to close public hearing. Oh. Yeah, do we need to close public hearing? No, we don't. Okay, sorry. Thank you. Let's move on then. Okay, so I'm going to start having the applicants come up. Remember, you've got 2 minutes to speak, and then you'll get some questions from the council. I'm going to start with Mark Agrari. Mike Agrari, pardon me. Hi, Mike. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Hi, hello, council members. My name is Mike Akrawi. I'm a local business owner, and in El Cajon City. I would like to thank you for the opportunity, allowing me to be here in this, this planning commission meeting to apply for the planning commission. I would also like to thank you and thank the city of El Cajon council members for all your effort and your work, dedication to the city of El Cajon, citizen of our community, and the improvement of our neighborhoods. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you today and to be able to represent a minority in El Cajon. If it's Chaldean or Middle Eastern, you can say so. My motive in wanting to be, or join the planning department is to better the streets and community of El Cajon. I work each day with citizens who buy and sell real estate and businesses as well, both commercial and residential, in the city of El Cajon, and many come across of a lot of code violation and engineering concerns that I have helped resolve. It is the experience I would like to bring to the Planning Commission. With the knowledge that I have and the community development, I feel I have a good basis for representing the planning department in the city of El Cajon. I moved my business and resident to El Cajon so I can be more involved with my clients and community members. I would like to help the citizens and members of El Cajon to improve the development of our neighbors and streets and better understanding the growth and planning codes of the city of El Cajon. Being a part of the Planning Commission will help me educate and bring further knowledge to our community and allow me to help more people understanding the rules, codes, and planning for the future. I look forward to help bridge a gap between community members looking for expanding within the city of El Cajon, further educating them on the planning code, safety, and development rules.
Mike, we've kind of run out of time. If you could wrap it up.
Okay, I'm almost done. Educating the community of zoning and safety fire, other codes, it's important task. As an experienced real estate broker, I believe I bring the value to the community.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Let me ask some questions for you, Mike. I think we're going to start at the back there with Mr. Ortiz, and we'll move forward.
What does good government look like to you?
Good government, where they look after their people, community, and cities. Improvement, and educate them more. That's what it's like to me. Thank you.
I got to ask an eligibility question, sorry.
Okay.
The address on your application was listed on Washington Avenue as a formal commercial
It is
Address.
commercial mixed use with residential and commercial. So I just bought it.
You just bought it, you live?
Yeah, and we moved. I moved my business, San Diego Homes Realty, and the resident as well. I will move it, everything.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have a question about the residents. I drove by there several times since you applied. I've never seen a car parked out front, the gate's locked, and there's no lights on at night. And you took a homeowner's exemption as of January 1st of 2019. That's a public record that you're living in Rancho San Diego.
Exactly, and I bought it, I think, 2 months ago, and we are still working on a couple of stuff, so I can be ready to open up the business.
But you're going to move into the business? You're going to sleep there every night?
Well, for me, it's like I'm almost there 24/7 doing business, so I think there is, in the back of the building, there is a residence place, so there is no problem with that.
Tony, do you know about that address?
844 East Washington is zoned general commercial. It does not include any mixed-use overlay, any type of zoning for residential. The records I'm looking at right now don't indicate that.
So actually living there would be a zoning violation.
Well, a caretaker unit could be added.
Okay.
I think it's already added.
Indicate that that's been done.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Question for you. If you had a magic wand and you could change anything in El Cajon that you wanted to change, how would you make it different?
Make it different? I wish if I have this magic one.
Yes.
But yeah, I would improve the area by fixing the homeless issue and more like improving the, maybe we do like reface the commercial on Main Street and other streets, so it will look a lot better when you get into El Cajon and look more, updated city.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mike, I have one question for you. I'm going to ask everybody the same question, so Mike, you're the only one who doesn't get the benefit of hearing it first. Sometimes when you're on the planning commission, when I was on the planning commission, I thought the hardest thing for me was there were two people that wanted different things. One person wanted to build a fence, and another person didn't want their view to be blocked. And they both came to the planning commission. We're fighting about that. When you have a situation like that, what process do you go through to make the decision of who's right and who's wrong?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Ball. I've been in the planning commission for a couple of times, and I saw some of the debates, some of the arguments, and we'll pick the best for the city. Whichever the best for the city, we'll pick for if it's like a building fence or not building fence, whichever gonna make the property look better and bring the volume in that street and make everybody happy as well.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that.
Any other questions?
No, I think we're set, but
Cool.
thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Humbert Cabrera, please come up.
Good evening.
How you doing, Humbert?
Good. How are you?
Good. It's a long day.
It's been a long day. I just want to read a couple letters. One is from the former assistant city manager of El Cajon. It says, I would like to recommend Humbert Cabrera for a commission, any commission he wishes to pursue. I've worked with him on several projects. He has the ability to strive for solutions, and he's not just mere rhetoric. He has a passion for public service and a reverence for the community. Mr. Cabrera has proven experience and would be an asset to any company or commission. He has worked through complicated permit issues for over 35 years. His knowledge and commitment to public service would make him an asset to any legislative body, especially in the field of land use, zoning, and development. I recommend Mr. Cabrera due to his skill set, diplomatic nature, familiarity with codes, permits, and as well as 38 years of experience to serve and represent the planning commission as a planning commissioner. As a native of El Cajon, California, he brings a unique perspective. Sincerely, Majid, Assistant City Manager of the City of Dallas, former Assistant City Manager of El Cajon, California. And then I just want to add one letter from Joel Anderson. He says, Humbert is familiar with the issues of East County. He has a quick study, and he would be an asset to any legislative body. As a former Citizen of the Year, I was happy to present him with a certificate of recognition. His work as a Rotarian president won him a group of international award and recognition for him as well. His professionalism is exemplary. He has raised some wonderful children, and I had a pleasure to have his daughter intern for me. I do have 4 Middle Easterners that do work for me. I do a lot of work in the Middle Eastern and Hispanic communities. Unfortunately, my engineer just passed away, and we had his funeral on Saturday, which is Mr. Nabil Kachi, and he was a great staple of not only El Cajon, but all of the community. So God bless him.
Sorry for your loss on that, Kimber. That's terrible. We'll start at the end with Mr. Ortiz and move towards me.
I'll be asking the same question as well. What does good government look like to you?
Good government is one that actually does what the citizenry wants to have done. And also, a smaller government is the best government.
Steve?
What's the role of a planning commissioner?
A role of a planning commissioner is defined by the planning commissioner role in the ordinance, is that you need to know the ordinance of planning and zoning and actually do the due diligence of knowing what the ordinances are so that you can make an intelligent decision. Now, what would I add to that? I think it also needs to be, you need to know the ordinances and the rest of the building divisions. I think that's a great addition to just not only knowing the zoning ordinance. I think, as Phil would probably tell you, just talking about the what was going on with the environmental impact. If you're talking about, if you know about heat solar gain, you know about different heat island effects and that kind of stuff that you do with Title 24. That little percentage can make a lot bigger difference than just the CO2 emission. But anyway, you kind of have to know a little bit about everything, but also you have to be able to handle the people and know the history of El Cajon. I think a lot of times, to answer Mayor Wells's question, you can actually find a line if you know the history of what something happened and why the planning division actually created those regulations. The answer is usually there.
What's the difference as a planning commissioner? Sometimes you have to evaluate projects and people's proposals. What's the difference between critiquing a project and being critical of a project?
So finding a solution. So you can be critical of something and you just say, this is bad, that's bad. There's no solution. I run into that all the time when I'm doing my own projects all over Southern California. But if you have a solution and you say, for example, Tony might say, hey, look, if we put some RFP here or we do some panels here, this is actually an inexpensive way of making something look good. Or we add a window here so that you can you can get better lighting or something like that. That's actually a viable solution to make something nicer. But if you're just out there saying this is bad and that's bad, that's the difference.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, you gonna skip that? Okay. Should I skip you every time, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay.
Humbert, well, first of all, thanks for all you've done in community. I don't think I know anybody that's volunteered more than Humbert Cabrera on all sorts of.
Thank you, Gary.
Of nonprofits. I am concerned somewhat of a perceived conflict of interest because you're going into the planning department or the building department,
right,
trying to get them to approve your plans, but then you'd be overseeing them as a planning commissioner. How can you address that?
Well, I'd step aside if that was the case. I wouldn't vote on that. Obviously, I wouldn't even say anything about it. But the truth about it is, in El Cajon, I'm doing very little work in El Cajon. We have now it's over 40 some odd projects on the books, and I think I only have 3 going on in all of El Cajon. So if it came down to it and I needed to just not do the work in El Cajon, that's fine with me. But I think to get back to what you were saying, Gary, I really want to continue doing the work that I've done with most of you. I think I've done a project with just about all of you, and it's been pretty successful. And I want to continue that kind of work and also do the voluntary work. I think that's where my heart is.
And so the question I'm going to ask everyone is, if you had a magic wand and you could change anything that in El Cajon, I'm looking for like buildings and things like that. What would you do?
Oh, buildings and things like that's a whole different ballgame. I was looking at it like almost religiously. God gives you the wand in your hands. You go out and do it. You volunteer, you help, you see what happened with what's going on with the food bank over there at Salvation Army. Boy, that's like giving birth after 9 years. It's you make it happen with even the resources he doesn't give you. You just pray every day and you hope that you can get there and you can help somebody. And so what I would say, if you had a magic wand, I think El Cajon's pretty magical as it is. But there's always room for improvement.
Okay, thank you.
So you kind of already addressed my question. Did you want to go on with that, or is that?
Oh, your question was
if you had two competing parties,
right,
and you just have to decide who's right and who's
Yeah,
wrong. What's the criteria?
I think I kind of addressed that in saying that when you've lived in El Cajon as long as I have, you have a unique perspective. It's almost like a Bob McClellan perspective. You remember when there was Unimart and FedMart and when all these zoning regulations came and why they did and all this other stuff. And I think, honestly, that it does give you a unique perspective when sitting on the Planning Commission, because you can remember, hey, we tried that already, or we did this already, that kind of thing. But honestly, I think to answer your question directly, Mayor, I would say that you have a process, this, that, the regulation says this, the zoning says that, the building division says this, there might be another regulation somewhere for engineering says that. If you know all these things together, you can usually come up with a pretty viable solution that makes both parties or 4 parties or 5 parties happy. It's something that actually your building division does every day. And so when you had an idea that a couple of years ago to give everybody a little bit of a bonus, I was the first one up here to say they deserve it, because honestly, the amount of regulations and codes and everything that they have to remember without an increase in pay is just crazy. Those people deserve it every day. They make those decisions every day. And it just helps us a little bit in another way. At the end of it, to answer your question, Mayor, you sit there and you say a little prayer and you hope you made the right decision.
Truth on that. All right. Thanks, Humbert.
Thank you.
Nathan Cornett. Hi, Nathan. How you doing?
Hello there. Good evening, everybody. How you doing? It is late night. My kids are in bed, so hopefully this is quick. My name is Nathan Cornett. I would like to be selected as a planning commissioner. My wife and I run a small commercial landscape company with just over 120 employees in El Cajon. I've been an East County resident for most of my life, and I've lived in El Cajon for the last 3 years. I've seen fantastic growth in El Cajon in my lifetime as a result of the council's leadership, and it's really impressive. I like what I'm seeing, and I like what I see coming. We got the Marriott that came in, Live Nation, the Magnolia Performing Arts Center, new shopping center with the Hampton Inn, the Animal Shelter, Parkwood Plaza purchased by Starwood, and all of the renovations and enhancements to that property and facility have been absolutely wonderful. I'd like to serve our community by assessing the current and future needs of our city on the Planning Commission. I believe I can bring a business owner's perspective as well as the horticultural background to help increase green spaces as our city continues to grow. I'd like to see an increasingly friendly business community, helping facilitate the creation of goods and services that our community wants more of. If I'm appointed, I will work very hard every day to balance the needs of our community, businesses, residents, and families to ensure that El Cajon continues to be the best place in East County to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you.
All right, Phil.
Same question. What does good government look like to you?
Good government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Good government gets out of the way and makes it easy for businesses and communities to thrive. Good government is efficient, and good government works for us.
What's the role of the Planning Commissioner and the Planning Commission?
To know and enforce zoning ordinances and codes as defined by Title 17.
Gary.
Well, Nathan.
Hello, sir.
Thank you for coming tonight. I'm going to ask you the same question to everyone else. If you could take a magic wand and change something in El Cajon, let's say the buildings or how things are laid, what would you do?
Sure, this is a risky question to answer, right? I would love to see more multi-use buildings, buildings with condos and or apartments with businesses underneath them. I think that's a trend that's going on in a lot of local cities, and I'd love to see more of that. I'd love to see more green spaces. I love greenery, plant material, plant life. How city government requires that, I'm not sure. I love seeing some of the things with requiring trees to be planted, encouraging trees to be planted. I love that kind of thing. I'd love to see the interchange on 67 and 8 get fixed. I see an accident there about twice a week, but that's a Sandag issue. Anyways, my magic wand, that's what I would do.
Thank you.
Do you remember my question? The question was, you've got two people coming into the Planning Commission. One person wants to build a fence, which they have a right to do on their property, and another person doesn't want that fence there because it's going to block the view and decrease the value of their property. So how do you make a decision like that?
Well, I think you have to go back to the ordinances. What does the law say? But beyond that, I think there needs to be community conversation, discussion. If that was not possible, it has to be what the law says, and you have to make a decision based on what the ordinances say. Sometimes it's not that simple, but
sometimes when you make those decisions, people are going to be angry with you. Are you comfortable with that?
I got pretty thick skin.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Amanda McGimpsky. Hello, Amanda. Welcome.
Thank you. I had trouble with this last time. Let me see. There you go. Good evening, Council. My name is Amanda McGimpsey, and I appreciate your consideration for my appointment to the Planning Commission. I would be honored to serve my community as Planning Commissioner. I would use my professional understanding of policy, legislation, and regulation to make El Cajon a safer and more prosperous community for all residents. I believe that thoughtful city planning can lead to stronger and healthier neighborhoods. I'm currently pursuing my Master of Public Administration, which has prepared me to analyze policy, legislation, and implement regulations. I will be able to work well with city staff, listen thoughtfully to our citizens, and understand the impact of each decision. In addition, I have worked extensively with architects and city planners through my role as the New School of Architecture and Design, and have professional experience working on projects that address affordable housing and homelessness. Any government official in El Cajon should understand the complexity of affordable housing and addressing systemic issues of homelessness. These are issues that I have professional experience with. In 2019, I prepared a report for SCSU with practical recommendations for integrating and financing affordable housing on their Mission Valley campus. I have also worked closely with the East County Homeless Task Force to develop strategic operations and communications plans, and I serve on the East County Homeless Task Force Data Committee. As Planning Commissioner, I would use these experiences to make informed decisions that consider all sides of the issue. I would work tirelessly to make El Cajon a stronger and healthier community. Thank you for your consideration.
Some questions? Phil?
Amanda, same question. What does good government mean to you? What does it look like?
Absolutely. I believe that good government is forward-thinking, and it approaches its citizens in a way that we ensure that all citizens are being treated fairly and equitably. I also believe that good government needs to be measurable and rely on data to make informed and thoughtful decisions.
What's the role of the Planning Commissioner and the Planning Commission to you?
Absolutely. The role of the Planning Commission is to review staff recommendations and citizen contributions and listen to both sides of the issue to make an informed decision on zoning and environmental impact considerations.
I asked everyone else, if you had a magic wand, you could change something in the city, what would you change?
Absolutely. Well, I am obviously my background working with the East County Homeless Task Force. My answer is going to be that I believe we need a shelter in El Cajon, and then also promote regional collaboration with other cities in the region. So I do agree with the 3-shelter approach to solving the homeless situation, and really creating a systemic change rather than just a Band-Aid.
You think it should be a shelter where anybody can go in? I mean, even if they're like drunk or...
Well, one of the issues that we do deal with in dealing with homeless individuals is that there's a lot of barriers of entry. So there's a lot of different models that you can follow. One really interesting model that I've seen up in San Jose is it is actually a work program where they bring in homeless individuals, and it's a voluntary participation, and they earn their right to be there. Through attendance and meetings and participating in activities, they really earn their right to participate in the program, and they feel ownership over their transition from being homeless to then being a working individual, and then, the ultimate success in that situation is that they do find permanent housing. So I'm a firm believer that it is important to have lower barriers of entry, and I know there's a perception that all individuals that are homeless have substance abuse issues, but the data doesn't necessarily support that. The Regional Task Force for the Homeless, I believe it's the 2018 report, actually found that it was 18% actually had a substance abuse issue. Now, that was self-reporting, so we don't know if that is actually the case. But a lot of the people that were reporting the causes of their initial homelessness was a loss of job or a health issue, and then also the rising rent and mortgage issues. So I do believe affordable housing and supporting affordable housing is also really important to addressing at-risk homeless individuals.
Thank you.
Okay, remember my question about the 2 different people coming. How do you make a decision like that?
Absolutely. Well, number one, you need to make sure that any decision you make is based in law. So you need to look at precedent to see if any decisions have been made in previous decisions that might be reflective in this situation. In addition to that, you really need to make sure that you listen to all sides of the issue so you can provide an informed and thoughtful decision. And you need to make sure that you're approaching the situation not from a point of bias, but a very measured response to each individual situation.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Robert Penoyer. Hi, Robert.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, it's great to see you again. My name's Robert Penoyer. I'm a resident at 1924 Altazana Drive in El Cajon. I've been a resident in El Cajon for the last 8 years. I was born and bred in East County. In fact, my family traces its history back for over 5 generations in San Diego. I currently work for BAE Systems in the defense industry. I'm a program director. I'm responsible for a multi-million line of business associated with software development, system integration for command and control systems for the U.S. military services and other allies. For the past 4 years, I've been working with the East County Economic Development Council to explore means to materially improve the work-life balance for East County residents. Our objective of the EDC is to bridge the gap between industry, education, government, and infrastructure. And we work to create an economic base that expands existing business and promotes new opportunities. We believe that the overall economic benefit in terms will create additional jobs. Of the East County population of close to 500,000 residents, 43+% are employed or employable. So that's about 214,000 folks. However, only 127,000 jobs are resident in East County. So that means that over 73% of our population commutes outside the area every day. So with the recent discussion with Sandag over the regional transportation plan and all of the aspects that come along with it, including the climate action plan that you discussed tonight, we have a critical issue facing East County and the city of El Cajon for our residents. And how do we address this? Following the elimination of the California redevelopment agencies in 2011, municipalities such as ours were left on our own in order to market forces to improve their economic base. The EDC is exploring means to advertise the advantages of establishing growing businesses and shift businesses into our area and therefore create those opportunities. I think that through a proactive plan and implementation or improvement of our city's master plan that we can make a material difference. So my personal interest is to work with the city council, the planning commission, is to improve those conditions, attract business investment, improve our neighborhoods, improve that industrial base that we have, right, and therefore provide opportunity for our citizens.
Okay, let me see if we get some questions for you.
I'm willing to bet I know what they are.
Same question. What does good government look like to you?
Good evening, council member. So good government is many things. It's fair, it's equitable, it's efficient, right? And many of the other applicants have commented in much the same fashion. I think it's for the common good. And if we have great government, that we have the opportunity that promotes an environment where people want to invest, that businesses are willing to come to our environment, and that will promote opportunity. We have to do that in a proactive manner that's going to be beneficial for all people. Sir.
Mr. Penoyer, how are you?
Good evening, sir.
We have met through the EDC, haven't we?
Many times, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
In the same way that I scrubbed prior applications, I need to scrub yours in a qualifying thing.
Please.
On your application, you didn't check the box for have you been or are you now a member of a governmental board, commission, or committee?
My apologies. Probably a little web feature, as it were.
That's okay.
I am not a member of the government, sir.
Okay. Are you related to an employee of the city of El Cajon?
I'm not.
Okay. Are you a registered voter?
I am.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm going to change up my question to you.
Uh-oh.
I know you're a soccer referee with
Yes, sir.
AYSO. Is that the case?
One of many, yes.
Okay. Let's say you don't like the rules. The governing board that oversees you as a referee said, these are the rules, and you don't like it. What do you do?
So I appreciate the question. And I think, first of all, we have to recognize that we put the community over ourselves, right? In this case with soccer, there are laws of the game. They govern our interpretation. There are many interpretations within the laws to understand the application, if you will, to a given issue or instance. And so as a referee, your responsibility is to be fair and to ensure a safe environment and make sure it's great for the players, right? So you have to be very clear in, applying those laws in an equal way for all concerned, right? Same principles apply in many things that we do for business, for our community, for our neighborhood, et cetera.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You bet.
Well, sir, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Sir.
If you had that magic wand, it could change anything in El Cajon. What would you change?
Well, great question, and I've had the benefit of hearing this a few times now, right? But, from the EDC's perspective, we've done quite a bit of study in this area. We have a great industrial area that is north of Fletcher Parkway all the way up to Gillespie Field that we would argue is perhaps underutilized. We need to think forward to how we could advance business opportunities within the environment and attract businesses into those areas. And sometimes, I hate to say it, but, the current occupants are really not taking full advantage. Let's think through what what could happen there. That's going to take some investment. It's going to take some change. It's going to take some forethought as to what's going to happen in front of us. So if we go back to, for example, the information Sandag's been providing us, we could see a 20% increase in the population over San Diego County over the next 20 plus years. How do we accommodate that? Where is it going to happen? How do we provide all the services that are necessary? And I think one of the opportunities that El Cajon has is to look at that area. Second bit is let's look at the homeless issue. Let's look at how we can improve low-cost housing. I think that point's been made many, many times, right? Do we have that opportunity? And it's not going to be an easy one because when you really look at, how El Cajon is laid out, I mean, we're arguably fully populated today. So there's going to be some give-get against something that's already in existence. How do we make those changes equitably? That would be my magic wand.
Thank you.
So we've got the two people at Planning Commission meeting, both have different needs. Well, how do you decide who's right?
Oh, great. Well, thank you for the same question. I think it's a little bit, I'm going to go back to my soccer ref, put the jersey on for you and say, we're going to start with the laws, right? We're going to make sure that it's from a legal compliance code perspective that we're equitable and we're treating those individuals in the very same fair way. We look at what the community asks in terms of input, what the impact is to everyone concerned, and we have to apply just the standard that's established by the code, by compliance, right? And we're going to have to make a decision from that. Fair enough?
Yeah, that's fair. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you. I appreciate your time.
You are set. Thanks. And Jacqueline Sana. Hey, Jacqueline.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Sana. I am Middle Eastern woman. I born in Iraq.
Let's start our time over again, please.
I born in Iraq. I studied English language through intensive English course for 3 years in my country. According to my skills in English, I was hired by the U.S. Army as a local interpreter in the Green Zone and in outskirts of Baghdad for 2 years. My experience with the U.S. Army was such incredible because I lived with those brave soldiers, men and women, who were fighting and sacrificing themselves for their country, and at the same time they were helping my people to bring democracy to my country. And I was so proud to be a part of them. And even when I was attacked and threatened by Al-Qaeda terrorists, I never gave up. I kept on working with them because they taught the freedom has price. They taught me the freedom has price, and either I have to live with dignity or die. After I completed my contract with them, I got the opportunity to come to the USA as a refugee. Now I am very grateful to be a U.S. citizen. In fact, the United States have done so much for me, either when I was in Iraq or here, so it is time to give back. Today I am here to achieve American dream, to help my community and the city of El Cajon, especially my area, that District 2, which has the most low-income people in. I want to represent the women because they are minority in this country and they are underserved. So I want this opportunity to be a representative of women and be their voice of decision-making when I serve as Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me start with Phil.
Well, first, let me comment. I think we deserve to give you a medal for the work you did overseas, so thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
But I'll continue with the question. What does good government look like to you?
Good government look like to me, the government team that improve education and expand the schools, because lately we have increasing in our population in El Cajon City. They increase rapidly. So we need expanding those buildings, the schools building, and we need government to take care of education more because the improvement of our community will start from kids. Thank you.
I'm going to give you a choice, which one you want to answer, whether you want to answer what do you think the role of the Planning Commission is, or what would you do if you don't like the rules? Your choice. Which?
Rules. We have to respect rules everywhere. So when we come to deal with rules, we have to know the base of those rules, where we have to apply them and where we have not.
Oh, thank you so much for coming. My question is the same as I asked everyone else. If you had a magic wand, it could change anything El Cajon, what would you change?
Actually, I think I will shrink the number of compounds, the apartments, the compounds, and build condos and house down, and encourage homeowners, to improve our city, because of course all people are welcome to our city. We wanted them to be residents, to share us everything in our city, but actually to be like a lot in one space, that will create unhealthy weather, unhealthy environment, because a big compound means a lot families in there, a lot cars, so the cars means emissions and so on.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
So the question I asked everybody else was, you've got two neighbors. One wants to build a fence. The other says it will block his view. How do you decide who's right?
Sir, I think I have to know the background of that, offensive thing, and then I shouldn't like offensive one and leave the other one. I have to listen to both, and I am not judge. I don't have that, the basis of judgment. So I have to be fair. I have to listen to both and then make my decision.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we've had our discussion. Thank you to all the candidates who took the time to stay late tonight and talk to us. I'm very encouraged by the quality of the people that we've got applying. Always makes me feel like I wish we had 7 or 8 planning commission seats available so everybody could be involved. But unfortunately, we only have 1 at this point. So I'm going to bring it back to the city council, let some discussion happen, and then somebody will make a motion, and we'll go from there. Bob.
Well, we've heard all of them speak tonight, and I think the one that probably has the most knowledge and probably ready for this type of assignment is Humbert Cabrera, and he would be my selection as a planning commissioner.
Any other thoughts?
I just exited this seat, and if I can offer some commentary.
You didn't last very long.
I didn't. Anthony got tired of me. Looking at it from a perspective, I have a master's emphasizing in public administration. The city staff has professional planners. We have city attorneys. There's currently a former planner on the commission, and a lot of the planning commissioners have a lot of experience in this realm. And what I found was that I would frequently, after a meeting, go back to my wife and talk about some of the things that were on the docket. And she brought a perspective that was underrepresented. So what I mean to say about all this is the experts are good. I think we have a lot of experts, but sometimes you need a resident that represents your average person, that isn't in the minutia, that isn't focused in the details so much, as bringing a perspective of a resident that could be an impartial judge to see what it's going to impact. Not to say that it's not present, but currently, because it is. But sometimes you need someone that can take a step back, that isn't focused on setback laws and things like that. So while that is an asset to have that experience, I just like to offer that commentary that it's not always needed to be a good planning commissioner.
Now, just to back up what you're saying, I was on the planning commission for 4 years. I'm a psychologist in the medical field. Paul Circo's back there. He's got a master's in psychology and works at a church. Mr. Sotile is a insurance broker, and all of those were excellent people on the planning commission. So I've also seen people that had a background in planning, and that was great. Tony Ambrose had a background in architecture, and he was my mentor. He was so. I think what we're looking for is a smart, engaged person that cares about the community and wants things to be better, and is willing to put some time and effort into doing that for almost no recognition or money. So it's honestly, it seems like everybody here tonight met those criterias. But so I appreciate that. Phil, did you have anybody you wanted to recommend, or are you going to wait and see what happens?
I went into this not knowing, and I share your same. Wish we could appoint 9 commissioners so we could fill all of them because they're great. If I had to pick someone, I was very impressed with Robert Penoyer. He referenced specific issues within the city and development. It makes me think that he's looking at the city with specific projects. Nathan Cornett, he referenced specific things in the city as well. That stood out to me. Yeah, that tells me that they're attuned to what's going on in the city, and that's very important to me. So, yeah.
I agree with both those assessments. Steve, any thoughts? Gary?
Well, Councilmember Ortiz mentioned something I think that's important, and that's that we have people that are underrepresented on the planning commission. 2 people, one person I think certainly meets that description would be Jacqueline Asana. The other person I really liked was Nathan Cornett. I would be leaning towards Jacqueline Asana because we don't have any representatives from the Middle Eastern community on the Planning Commission.
Question for City Attorney. In the same way that we cannot discriminate against somebody because of a protected class, can we choose somebody because they are unrepresented because of their class? Just need clarification.
I think the issue is whether it's true discrimination, and I think we went through this exercise when we were going through the districting, because we talked about whether minorities should be considered, and then the law has told us you can't base it on a race or ethnicity of an individual or the individuals in the district. And by the same token, you can consider communities of interest in a sense, what we do for the districting. So think of it rather than whether you're trying to fill a quota, not that, but think of it as whether it's somebody who represents a community of interest in El Cajon.
So somebody who has more expertise in a community of interest, or more characteristics of involvement with a community of interest, or things like that, right, is okay to consider?
That's certainly acceptable. Okay. And obviously we can't make appointments based on religious views either. That's clearly unconstitutional.
Okay. I start at the top and I say add value. We work for the people of El Cajon. That's where it started. That the people are at the top of the org chart. We're the next rung down. And then the commission, city manager, government, things like that. So in a way, the Planning Commission, I hope, would fulfill the policies of the City Council, that we wouldn't be at odds with each other. And so whoever we choose, I hope, recognizes the policies of the City Council when it comes to land use. For instance, I don't think we're interested in looking at more apartments in the city of El Cajon. So we hope not to have a planning commissioner who is. And that's what I mean, being in sync with each other. Adding value. We need to add value to the people of El Cajon. That's what we're charged with doing. And in the same way, we hope that the Planning Commission adds value to those that live here through their use of land. I think we've heard from some very eloquent applicants tonight, and I hope that whoever we choose thinks of it in that term as somebody that supports the policies of the council, who reports to the people of El Cajon.
Well, there's about 4 or 5 people that I could support tonight. I got to tell you, I was really impressed with Mr. Penoyer. Excellent. Humbert has been at every event that I've ever been to in El Cajon since I've been going to events in El Cajon, and at some point, I think that there's a loyalty there to that kind of commitment to the city. I think he's got political aspirations, and let's be honest, the Planning Commission is a good minor league baseball farm team for city council. I can remember Amanda McGivsky getting her master's degree in public administration. Really surprised that somebody as qualified as you is here and wanting to do this job for, like I said, no recognition and no money. So, she would be an excellent choice. I don't think we can go too wrong tonight, guys. We're going to be okay. Nathan Cornett, another guy who has been at every event. He's cleaning up trash. He's working all the events. He's Mr. El Cajon. So, and Jacqueline Sana, I'm really glad that you're applying. I think you would be an excellent person to have involved in city government. Mike, you were great too. There's nobody that wasn't good. So we need to choose. Somebody's got to make a motion, but I'm comfortable with really anybody we choose at this point tonight. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are, and I think we should just at this point make a motion and see what's going to happen. Bob?
Well, I mentioned earlier that Humbert is Citizen of the Year a couple of years ago. He's involved in everything in El Cajon, knows the city backwards and forwards, has been around for a long time. He knows drafting and planning and things like that in his business, and I think he's the one that we need that's the expert in this area. And I think he would really be a welcome addition to the Plan Commission, so that would be my recommendation to nominate Humbert. Cabrera.
I'll second. Move the second. Please vote.
Motion carries by a 3-2 vote with Councilmember McClellan and Councilmember Ortiz voting no.
No, I think you got it backwards.
It's Kendrick and Ortiz.
My apologies, our names are wrong. Okay. Motion carries by a 3-2 vote with Councilmember Kendrick and Councilmember Ortiz voting no.
Okay, then that's it. That's how it goes. Thank you all so much, again, for applying. There will be more opportunities. Those of you that want to get more involved and be in the slots for things coming up, I recommend feel free to call any of us to talk about it, talk about ways to get more involved. If you want to be on the Planning Commissioner, I think Darren Morose is open to meeting with people for breakfast or lunch and giving you his insights, and there's probably some other planning commissioners that would as well. There's room for everybody, and everybody's going to get a chance. We just have to do it one open spot at a time. But for right now, we need to bring up Mr. Cabrera and have him take the oath of office.
Congratulations, Humbert.
I, Humber Cabrera, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of
and to the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
upon which I am about to enter.
July 2019 is adjourned until Tuesday, July 23rd, 2019 at 3 o'clock p.m. Thank you very much and good night to all.